very good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to one and all. Today, the entire world is suffering with disease of COVID-19, which is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. The other concerning point, especially in Bangalore, that is numbers of influenza-like illnesses and severe acute respiratory illnesses cases have spiked in less than a month. This is the right time to come together, and we have the right person here with us today to provide us a comprehensive knowledge regarding COVID-19, Sari and Lily, and its nursing management. Today's speakers are Dr. Kiranappa and Mrs. Nilevani ma'am. I welcome you, sir, and I welcome you, ma'am. So let's begin with this section. At first, I would like to welcome our principal, Dr. Gajendra
Ask
Singh,
them,
to inaugurate the section
ask them to mute.
with his inspiring speech.
और construction setup
Hello. Should we start?
Hello, Lindsay.
At first, I would like to welcome our principal, Dr. Gajendra Singh, to inaugurate the section with his inspiring speech.
Namaskara, sir. My dear nursing students and faculty members, today we are witnessing around 11.4 million of COVID cases and more than 5,35,000 death tolls globally. The outbreak of COVID-19 infection is rapidly increasing and in turn creating a panic condition all over the world. As on today in India, 7,69,052 cases are detected and recovered about 4,76,554 and its death toll is about 21,144. Whereas in Karnataka state itself, 28,877 cases with 500 deaths. Especially in Bangalore itself, 12,500 positive corona cases were detected, and still the rapid contact tracing work is going on, and majority of the cases of these cases, COVID cases, are associated with SARI and ILI. Since from June 2020, the COVID cases are increasing exponentially along with SARI and ILI. Because of this reason, the healthcare organization and healthcare personnel are under panic condition. Right now, majority of ILI and SARI cases are suspected with COVID-19 and asking them to come forward for COVID testing. In this pandemic situation, nurses' roles are very much essential for early detection, like tracing cases, treating them and safeguarding themselves from infection, so that the knowledge is an essential component in control and prevention of SARI, ILI and COVID-19. Today with us, Dr. Kiranappa B. Udunur, consultant interventional pulmonologist and sleep specialist from Inspire Specialty Clinic and from Columbia Asia Hospital, Bangalore, has wholeheartedly accepted our invitation to deliver his knowledge for our nursing faculty and students. And on this occasion, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks. Thank you, sir. Also with us, Mrs. L. Nilevani Madam. She is working as Senior Nurse Manager of Aster RV Hospital, Bangalore. She has accepted to take part in this webinar as a person to explain the nurses' role in management of ILI SARI in relevance to corona-infected cases. Thank you, Madam, for accepting our invitation and being with us online for this webinar.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Students and faculty members, kindly have good takeaways through this webinar to enhance your knowledge in caring COVID-19 cases. Thank you, Ananta.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Should we go start, madam?
Yes, sir. Now I like to introduce Dr. Kiranappa B. Udunur, consultant interventional pulmonologist. Sir is completed MBBS from Jamia Medical College and completed diploma in tuberculosis and chest disease and DNP in respiratory diseases. Sir honored many prizes and attended many seminars and conferences for enhancing his knowledge. And we are really privileged to have you here today, sir. I welcome you. Kindly take over the section.
Please, thank you for inviting me. And my Wi-Fi is not working, and the slides are not ready to get into the phone. I am doing it in the phone. Keep your ears are most sensitive tool, and I will make it more interesting in a talk only. And I will not take much more time, and I will just enhance what is going on in reality in Bangalore in a present situation. So why we need to check for SARI and influenza like illnesses, because earlier whenever we used to screen any viral flu like symptoms used to be like corona, and we were afraid, and there were less number of cases, and we used to search for corona everywhere, whether he has come from London, whether he has come from Mumbai, whether he has come from, slowly international travel become domestic travel become from Mumbai and Chennai and Delhi, and slowly we are at risk from Mumbai, from Bangalore. If somebody wants to go, and they are at risk to others. That's how the community spreads have started. And already now the testing criteria and other things have been changing. And most of the patients, how the streamline they have done means, even for the hospitals or clinic through a KPME registered clinic, we should inform every SARI case or influenza like illness cases to them every day. It has to be updated. That's how serious it is. We know too many things about corona in a WhatsApp group and everywhere. Hope you are all listening. And SARI means severe acute respiratory infection. It can be corona, it may not be corona, but during the time of pandemic, SARI means most probably if somebody has pneumonia and oxygen is less than 90 or 94 or less, it is called as acute respiratory infection. They are called SARI, because the major complication of coronavirus infection, it may come as flu, it might go on its own without any treatment. It is self-limiting. Most of the viral infections are self-limiting. For few cases only, they might have a pneumonia in the chest and their oxygen might fall. These are called SARI. That is a simple definition of a SARI. And influenza like illness, like you all know that it is dengue like illness. When the platelet count is low, there are some viral infection where you get headache, cough, sore throat, and myalgia, back pain, and those kind of symptoms, tiredness, high grade fever, headache. Those kind of symptoms are called any viral fever. Even your kids or whoever is there in the family, they might have noticed sometimes a child would have developed a fever for 1 or 2 days. They said you take paracetamol, it will go on its own, no need of antibiotic. That's how influenza like illness looks like. This can also be corona during the time of pandemic. So these cases have to be informed from the any center. Nobody throughout the India, this is the pattern. And these are the cases, even in Chinese, they have identified and ruled out, because these are the cases who will spread. Respiratory infection and droplet infection is the main cause of spread. That's the way the mask, N95 mask, and all this protection is important. So that is all so important, because it's the spread and the rapidity of the spread. It is highly infectious disease in the world, and it is it comes once in 100 years. Once in 100 years, after Spanish flu, it has come first time, and it has spread rapidly, and nobody is immune to it. Rich, poor, and healthcare worker, non-healthcare worker, affordable, non-affordable, anybody it can infect. That's how serious is there. But the problem is, I don't want to highlight that, say that corona, if it comes positive and you are going to die 100% next day, it is not like that. My role is to alleviate the fear. There is no fear. Whatever information we get in a media and whatever information we get in a WhatsApp group, don't fall to that. 85% to 90% will recover. No mortality has happened. I am treating corona on a ventilator. I am treating corona in a patients in wards, and the precautions we are taking, and they are doing it well, whatever discussion is happening. So these SARI cases and ILA cases we have gone through. The next thing is, why do we need to test these SARI cases? For all cases, for everyone, testing is required, testing is required, testing is required. We need to do more tests, numbers are less, number of less, because that is the problem we are facing. So once you test and any negative test, it will be given to you. Most of the time in March, and this we used to test more and more. We used to get less, used to test 100 samples, means you used to get one corona positive. Slowly after a month, we used to test 10 sample, we used to get one. Now in every fourth or fifth sample, we are getting positive. Now everyone, without even testing, we know that it is corona. That's how community spread has happened. Testing is usually throat swab. How exactly? They take a throat swab for H1N1 swab. It is a swab there. We have to touch the throat. And one more additional things which is about taking a throat swab is even the nasal swab has to be taken along with it. There are two tips in that in collecting the swab. Collecting swab, whenever you are touching the nose and throat, they may cough in front of you. So collecting swab is also most important, and they have a dedicated tube so that infection and patient will not spread the infection. The PPE has to be used, and the gloves, all the precautions has to be used to collect the swab. Such infectious disease it is. So once the swab is collected, it is either sent to a government lab, designated COVID lab, where the report will be sent, and the negative report only will be updated within 12 to 24 hours. The positive reports, even in the private lab, which one if you do it in Anand lab, even if you do it in another lab, the positive report will be informed only yes or no. And it will go to a BBMP or a DHO, and DHO will inform the patient that corona test is positive for the patient. That's how the information is being led. So whom to test, whom not to send, now you can send to anybody. Earlier, there were a lot of restriction with the criteria. As the community spread has happened, so most of the tests have been, rules have been gone. Now everyone can be tested easily. So that's how we test. And if you test these corona testing with a throat swab of RT-PCR, where the PCR will be given positive or negative. Based on that, there are some, if you don't collect the sample correctly, the sample collection technique is all important. There is a designated place. So these cases, if you check SARI and influenza like, the likelihood that if you send 100 samples, 95 will turn out to be positive or 90 will turn out of positive. That's why we need to be worried about this SARI and influenza like illness. So what test and what test is RT-PCR? What is the right time? So usually if you test the chronology of infection is such that when you get exposed to somebody and you don't have symptoms for first 5 days, first 5 days is a preclinical. If you have seen a corona positive patient, seen him without mask and this thing with a high risk exposure is there, your likelihood that you may get infected. There are a lot of factors that how much time you have spent, whether he has sneezed, whether he has coughed, how much distance you are maintaining. Based on that, you get the infections. So first 5 days, you will not even have any symptoms. After 5 days onwards, after exposure, you will get some sore throat, cough and all. Even if you test on that time, it may come negative. If you test very early, the test may come false negative. So the timing, you can wait for 3-4 months after exposure, immediately testing will not give the result. You have to wait for symptoms 3 or 4 days and then test. That is the right time. The sensitivity increases from 60 to 70 to 80% or 90%. So the timing of a test is, even if the corona test can come negative in initial phase, you can still have corona. The right timing of a testing is also important. And what will happen? What will happen if the test comes positive? Okay, so if the test comes positive, all are running around throughout the Bangalore that they need admission. So admission, whole beds are been full, and government hospital has become full. Boring and Victoria has become full, and private hospitals initially they were reluctant. Now they are taking this many beds, and they have to be very much prepared because it is infectious. There are non-COVID patients which need to be taken care. All these precautions has to be taken care. The earlier the rule was there, all of them should be quarantined in the hospital. That rule has been gone from July onwards now. And this is allowed, that home quarantine for healthcare workers was allowed earlier, and hotel quarantine with BBMP attached and with cooperation with the private hospital they are doing, and some hotels are offering hotel quarantine. So which are these patients we have to hotel quarantine? Which are the patients we need to admit? So this government rule, whatever it is there, because admission is required only for the sick patients which are moderate to severe cases. So corona can be asymptomatic carrier. You don't have any symptoms, cough, cold, or any symptoms at all. You can test as a secondary contact. Somebody is there, you can test positive, but you may not have any symptoms. Those people should not be admitted in the hospital. They can quarantine themselves in the home for 14 days, and that itself is enough. You can take multivitamin, ascorbic acid, limsi, you can take kashaya, you can take this thing zinc, which is also helpful. You can take vitamin D, all these immunity boosters. You can take all other methods. Have a strong mental willpower to live. With 18 to 60 years who don't have any comorbidities, they can either assign to a hotel quarantine because beds are not available. And 7 days they should be taught how to protect themselves and how to not infect others. Those should be told. This is about asymptomatic carrier who is tested positive. And if somebody is having a mild symptoms like maikaino, sustu, and pain, and those kind of symptoms are there, they are mild cases. Any case which doesn't have pneumonia, in the chest x-ray, their saturation of more than 95 is there, and their heart rate and other things are BP and all is okay, and if they don't have any pneumonia, and if you do certain tests like CRP, blood test where leukopenia is not there, certain additional test will be sent like CRP, D-dimer, ferritin, LDH, and all these things are inflammatory markers. If these inflammatory markers are not very much high, then it is not severe case. It is mild case. So I will come in the mild cases also. If you are young and healthy, if don't have diabetes, cancer survivor or kidney patient or anything, they still don't require admission. So the priority of the bed should be given to a sick patients for the hospital because we don't have beds. So the mild cases can also be treated at home or a hotel. If they have any problems of hotel quarantine because they have a small house, there are many people, husband, wife, child, if at all they have to tell that they have to use N95 mask, they have to wear gloves and provide a food and moral support to a person who is tested, protected, and family support is important. And since BBMP seals down their house and the surrounding people and their friends should support them. Those system is there, we allow them to go home with some treatment like doxycycline and ivermectin. There is no guidelines. I have even the treatment for 5 days of doxy 100 mg BD and ivermectin. They are anti-parasitic drug with plus or minus paracetamol, steroids, hydration, plenty of waters, sometimes ecosprin. It will help, and we can treat them 5 to 10 days through video consult itself. Coming to patients who are sick, we do triaging whether they are sick or not. Through the ER, they are sent to a CT scan. If CT scan is showing any kind of pneumonia or this thing, if saturation is less, we admit them. Those patients require admissions in the separate confirmed area, either with a pending report or a confirmed report. There we will treat a new drug which has come, which is called as FabiFlu. It's the number of drugs what we take is more in this, and 9 tablets morning and 9 tablets night we have to take on a first day, and later 4 tablets morning and 4 tablets night we have to take for next 13 days. Okay. So, and this is the thing we need to take care whether this drug will become the best drug, and that should be taken care. Okay. Okay. I will relax and I will go slowly on that because we have to complete in 15 minutes. That's the time slot which is being available for us. Okay. Then if in the moderate case, what happens is if the saturation is still okay, they have pneumonia, then they require FabiFlu. And the additional thing, if they are very, very toxic and myocarditis is the feature, sometimes they can get loose motions. They need IV fluids. They may get they get dehydrated, sometimes acute kidney injury. They may end up having a dialysis sometimes. So you should be careful. We give adequate fluid and ask the patient to check his BP if he is in the home or in the hospital. Anyway, they will be stressed out. They will give the handheld pulse oximeter and thermometer so that they can check on their own, and even in the inpatient. And this is working fine in our hospital also. And most of the time, the additional things which is very, very important apart from the medications is doing incentive spirometry 10 to 15 times every hour is important, because lungs will expand, our oxygenation and reserve will be very good. Second thing, sleeping on a belly. If at all, prone position ventilation and other things we have heard about, but sleeping on your belly with whenever a child coughs and all, we pat on their back and we make them sleep on their back, and that will definitely help. Like that only patients are told and check the saturation. If it is less than 94, we tell them inform. If the BP falls, we check them inform. And adequate dose of paracetamol, because fever causes dehydration. If high grade fevers are being seen, if you give IV fluids and paracetamol up to 4 grams per day, 650 mg up to 4 tablets per day can be taken, so that fever settles. We know that the cause of the disease, there is no problem in taking paracetamol. Paracetamol and multivitamins have to be taken. So if you give that and give antiviral drugs, it is sufficient. So the problem with dehydration and other things with the sepsis is the coagulation problem. You may prone to DVT, pulmonary embolism. That is the highest cause of mortality in Italy. So that has been experienced. So that is the new thing which we need to always remember. So in the house, it is very difficult. Even ecosprin will not be protect you. We have to give anticoagulant like Clexane or heparin, even in the hospital for 10 days. So the more you are moving around nearby, even if you are in isolation, moving around, drinking, being positive, because they will not get DVT and all. So they can take Clexane once daily or twice daily. That depends on the D dimer value, because that is the inflammatory marker. If D dimer is more than 1000, we need to give it twice daily. Otherwise, once daily suffices. And that 3-4 days, up to 8th day, we will not get breathlessness at all. And even the CT sign will come early before the symptoms will develop. That's why we should pick them early with a pulse oximeter, check the saturation, make them walk 2-3 minutes and check the saturation again. It should not fall less than 94. If it is less than 94, they need a CT scan. So if they are admitted, you give those drugs, and no higher end medications are required. You treat them, keep mentally strong. Steroids is a one thing which will work wonders in the earlier days. During infection, we should not give steroids. That's the saying. But during this time, there is a fight between inflammation. Its body's immunity is very strong, means it will over respond to a virus. When it over responds, it causes ARDS, multi-organ dysfunction. You can have kidney failure, you can have encephalopathy, you may become unconscious, you may have heart problem, myocarditis and other things. We think it is a heart problem, angiogram, all those things are not required. To prevent that, steroids. If oxygen is low and this thing, we have to use an adequate dose. There is a trial called as recovery trial, and dexamethasone 6 mg once daily for 10 days is been recommended. During the hospital, we have started using that, and that is been working fine, and patients have recovered. I am discharged 10 patients now, and tomorrow we are discharging few. Most of them are moderate cases in the ward and oxygen requirement alone. And sometimes they want a high-end oxygen, like high flow oxygen, or a sick patients who reserve is very strong and the patient is very good in doing incentive spirometry. He doesn't have heart problem and other things. We can manage with high flow oxygen, which is called as Aero O2, where we non-invasively, without ventilating the patient, we can give 100% oxygen up to 90-95. And I have managed it few patients and people have turned very good. That's how we see about the management of moderate cases. Till then, of managing a moderate cases is good, and patients will come out. Even if it is 75-year-old with a comorbidities, whether diabetes, hypertension and other things, they will do well. The problem is the patient coming, waiting for the bed and staying at a home and keep on waiting, not taking medication. Treating is important, not testing. Testing and waiting, it is taking time. BBMP is overburdened. Usually they used to give the report in 24 hours. DHO used to call. Now we are not getting the call for 7 days, 4 days. Nobody is knowing what is the report. Then if your oxygen falls, you go to emergency. Then to one hospital will say, you go to Aster, RV, where Neelaveni is working. RV will say, I don't have bed. Then they will go for Apollo. Then they will Columbia. That is the situation which is creating panic, because most of the patients who are asymptomatic mild case are staying in the hospital. So we should take care of sick patients and we should not allow any mortality due to COVID. So anybody should not die due to COVID. The cost of treatment, of course, it is high. Whenever we are treating, we should protect ourselves very well, because when we are treating, when we take the infection out, our kids will get infected, our elderly will get affected. That's why when you are treating the patient, earlier we never used to have that situation. Now that situation has arisen. Protect yourself very well. That is a primary goal. Use your PPA, donning correctly. That Neelaveni is going to explain very well in the next session. So that is very important. Using the mask. Mask is definitely protective, and that's to N95 mask, and wearing the goggles, headgears, face shield, all these things are important. Even if it is a friend, we have been very close, you are eating, staying together, you maintain the distance, physical distance, sanitize, you do all the precautions very well, we will not get infected, so that we can save more lives. So if a healthcare burden is there in the hospital, there might be a hotspot of infection, and many people in the customer care and other areas, they get infected. You should treat them well, you should help each other and be united in the fight of COVID, because initially we think that we are not involved in the care and it's somebody's role and government's role and all. Slowly it starts coming back to you, and some close relatives will get a call, I have COVID, you please treat me. Then your own near ones will get suffering. So if you try to escape from the situation that you are not going to be treating them like a soldier who is in the war foot. He says when he become a soldier, there is a war against the China, and they say that Chinese are very strong and I'm going to come and sit in the house. It is not going to work. So when you choose on that profession of a healthcare, we should stand upright and strong, and we should get all the things corrected. Protect yourself, no problem. You ask the management to give a PPE, and there are a lot of NGO, and there is 600,000 crore business, PPE business has happened. Many people, pharmacy companies are ready to give a sanitizer free. Many people don't say that mask is being not provided. Mask is not very costly. You can buy your own. Even the management is not doing, you can buy your own and have a triple layer mask or a surgical mask. Come forward and start working, start saving more. We should not face like Mumbai and Italy, and your own close friends and doctors who are infected, who are working, and superstar consultants, they are affected. Their own hospital is not giving a bed, means it becomes very, very tough. So that kind of situation is there, and I am getting the call. I am treated patients at home only and learn IV line. Only nursing staff will know how to put an IV line. If you know only one drug, now we have a system where drugs can be reached to your home with all the things. And if a good doctor can guide you well, you can get treated. Even with oxygen vendors can be arranged at home, we can get treated. I am treated many patients with oxygen concentrator at home and pulse oximeter with the instruction through video, and all the drugs reaching at a home, because there is no beds. That's the way the corona has made them more intelligent. We can't assign this thing. If you are willfully strong, you want to survive from corona, it can be done, definitely. But absolute precautions, saving yourself first and then treating well. And if you are getting infected, early symptoms, don't panic at all. It is definitely going to improve. You're not going to die just because you are corona positive. And whatever the news channel, once corona is infected, you are gone. It's not the case. It's definitely, it improves us. Please relieve the anxiety among the general public. Even media needs a lesson to relieve that kind of this thing. So the government authorities, the politicians, and the media, the institutions, and all are initially reluctant, and somebody have to take up the onus and get into the game of this corona. Don't go ahead of the corona. Let us take it forward and maintain all those precautions: physical distancing, hand sanitizing, face mask, which is absolutely protected. Don't go by somebody's evidence and WhatsApp group discussions. I am being in this treating every day and going every day, having all the precautions, how to go home, when to reach home. I have to take a bath. All those things. I am not being infected with corona. I am at risk. I am treating. I hope you will all do the same thing with all the protections, things which has been explained by Neelaveni to you in the next session. Thank you very much, and stay safe, stay protected.
Thank you, sir, for the informative section. Now it's open to all for any questions. If anyone is having any queries, you can display the chat or you can ask directly to sir.
Hope it was good.
Yes, sir, it was a informative section. Sir, can I know what is the status of vaccine?
Sir?
What is the status of vaccine, sir? Can I know what is the status of vaccine?
There are a lot of vaccines. Even the Indian Serum Institute and all these people are being involved in devising the vaccine, and they are saying that Chinese already have a vaccine and all. There are a lot of hearsays in WhatsApp group and everywhere. But vaccine innovations are going on. By September it will come. That's what the best of the pharmacy and highest authorities are saying. And they need vaccine clearance. You should not come up with it's a live attenuated virus and we get a vaccine related problems. It has to be streamlined by animal trial, then human trial, and probably in due course. Usually vaccine development for any drugs takes 1 to 2 years. But if this corona has come so fast and already you are in a corona, and they have so everyone into the game to develop the vaccine, and whoever develops the vaccine, he will definitely get a Nobel Prize for it. 100%, I am very sure. And probably that's the pace with which our scientists and researchers are working. Probably it might in September to June, it might come this thing. Let's see. Definitely by next year we should get it. Let's see.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Now we'll continue with this section. Next, we have a compassionate nursing professional, Mrs. L. Nilamini, currently serving as a senior nursing manager in Aster Army Hospital, Bangalore. She has completed general nursing and post-PhD nursing. She has participated in many NABH audits and won Best Supervisor Award. She has an exceptional work experience of more than 20 years in clinical areas and has good managerial and organizational skills. We are really grateful to have you here today, sir. I welcome you. Kindly take over the section.
Sure. Thank you, Lindsay. I'm just sharing my slides. Can you all see the slides? Share it.
1 minute.
Hello, I think now the slide is visible.
Not yet, ma'am.
I have shared it. Is it visible now? Yeah, it is showing me I'm presenting.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this Dr. Hiran has covered very well. Though he didn't have an PPT, he has given a lot of input on a medical and clinical base, how we are, why it is important and all that. So mainly I'm going to concentrate on the nursing management and how we take care of ourselves. That's what was asked out of me. So the total contents of this is just a small introduction, how it is spreading, what all assessments do we do, what is the nursing considerations, prevention strategies, and a few takeaway messages, to get rid of the myths and to know the facts. So the introduction is, we all know it's a very deadly disease. So it's a viral disease which is caused by a distinct virus called coronavirus. The disease has been named as COVID-19 now, or it is coronavirus disease. Yeah, and it is believed to be more infectious than the other coronaviruses. Means we did have previously different version of such similar virus, which is SARS and all that. So potentially it is life-threatening, but to a least numbers. And globally pandemic, Initially, it was very life-threatening because we didn't know how to handle it. But slowly, with a lot of trial and error and the herd immunity that is developed in the human beings, there are a lot of actually a higher percentage of mild cases comparing to more severe cases. Yeah. So the worldwide cases are, you can see, more than 12, and then worldwide recovered disease. So if you see, the recovered numbers are higher, whether it is worldwide or in India. If you see, on May 6th or so, we were conducting a quiz when we saw India was at its 18th place. Today we are on the 3rd place in the world. Looks like, few months or few weeks we will hit the 1st place because the population. So this data is as on today morning 8, just for your reference. And how does it spread? Virus does not travel. We spread the virus. That's what I want to, take it very harsh in us. Definitely the virus cannot, it does not have hands and legs to move around. It is a lot of us must have seen hand washing videos a lot of time, how an infection spreads with a lot of highlighted greenish color. So that is the similar example here also. So, and there is always some confusion. Is it an airborne droplet? Lot of debating going around. The droplet in this case is heavier, so it cannot be in the air. That's why it is droplet. But it can cause being in the air to another person when we are in the close acquaintances of the infected person. That's what is the difference about. And main modes of transmission, one is droplet, as we mentioned. Why? Because it's heavy. It falls immediately on the surface, be it for items that are used or be it for on the floor, desk, chair, whatever. And next is direct contact. So direct contact is, that's what, when we are very close, and especially those who are, without knowing, asymptomatic people, and we are getting in a very direct contact to them. Then the assessments, what all we do, same like every other cases, history collection, assessment, recording signs and symptoms and warning signs, identifying existing risk factors. So in COVID-19, there are lots of comorbidities which is delaying the recovery of COVID-19. So that is why the risk factors, and then diagnostic evaluations, monitoring. There's one more important point in this assessment is to know that we have to do a contact tracing of persons. For example, we are going for functions. There are lots of newses we have seen. One person has been, identified, but all those who had a contact, who came for the function, is either a primary or the secondary contact of that particular infected person. That is why the gathering is not allowed and social distancing is important. Next is the nursing management of ICU patient with COVID-19. I'm not sure how many of you have learned the Fostex BID. It is a mnemonic which is used for an ICU bundle. So F stands for feeding and fluids, A for analgesia, S for sedation, T for thromboprophylaxis, H for head-up position, U for ulcer prophylaxis. This is mainly stress ulcer prophylaxis, that is peptic or gastric ulcer. Then G for glycemic control. B is for breathing trials, spontaneous breathing trials. I is for incontinence, so bowel and bladder care. D is for drug de-escalation, mainly in case of antibiotic. So this is the mnemonic which is followed in every ICU case, and we do it with a little more care in the COVID-19 due to the high, the high risk of their life being lost into. Okay. So next is again continuing with the nursing management of ICU patient. So what all do? We are managing patients on ventilator. We do have patients on invasive ventilator, non-invasive ventilator, and we have them on a prone ventilation, that is sleeping on the stomach, and we are ventilating them. So these are different challenges, different ventilations that we are doing as of now. Most of them are common, but in case of a prone, we have a lot of difficulty in, we have a lot of challenge in assessing them repeatedly. We will not be able to document because of to maintain and saturation, higher saturation. we make them on a prone ventilation, and then this is what happens. So that what you see under the management of ventilator is back prevention bundle, head and elevation, intermittent or sterile suctioning, and usage of viral filters, which is very important in this case, because mainly during the expiration is where the infection contract or infection, transmission is expected. Hence, the expiratory filters is more important when there is a ventilated patient. Then the disinfection of the ventilator. Few of the ventilator has expiratory cassettes which are detachable and they can be disinfected. So then, like a Mackay ventilator, so that can be done. And similarly, pressures of prevention, positioning, and early mobilization so that the lung gets more capacity and it improves. Nutritional needs, restraint site care and monitoring, then DVT prevention. These are all some of the main nursing management. So especially what we need to concentrate, waste management. Most of us have a doubt whether do we need to consider everything as infected. Yes, we consider every surface, every article, every part, every item that is being used for a patient as an infected, because the patient is expirating the virus and it is on his surface. Hence, we consider that. That is the reason the waste management is very important. So appropriate waste disposal, appropriate disposal of body fluid, especially the suction fluids, then supervising the housekeeping staffs and educating them onto how to avoid exposure to themselves, why not to have spillage, why they should clean the equipments one by one, all this. Soil linen management. What we are practicing is 1% of hypochlorite solution is there in a drum. We soak the linen used for confirmed cases for 30 minutes. Then they have been squeezed out and sent to the general laundry. We do not mix them up along with, other linen. It has been separately handled. It's been ringed, squeezed, and then sent it in a double layered laundry bag. Again, in infection prevention, we need to see infection prevention now, not just for the patient, mainly for the environmental staffs. It is the healthcare workers who are there. Sometimes there are visitors coming in for suspected cases. For positive cases, we do not allow visitors at all. So in case there, we have negative pressure rooms. Just to understand for you all, negative pressure is a sucking effect. It takes the room atmospheric air directly into the environment. But a positive pressure is, it will avoid the inside pressure to go out. So that is how we decide which infected case should be in a positive, which infected case should be in a negative. So all respiratory isolation cases will be in a negative pressure isolation room. Disinfection of equipments is another more important, and then surroundings. As well as, though yes, we are all responsible, we need to minimize staffs during intervention so that the exposure is less. So for example, even if there is an arrest, even if there is an CPR needed, we are not allowing more than 4 persons in that. 2 doctors, 2 nurses, that is all. With the PPE, they will go do the resuscitation and come. Okay, so then obviously hand hygiene. That's the main thing which is going to save us. Most of us feel wearing a glove, we do not need to hand hygiene. Please change that thought. That's nowhere going to help us. Glove is just covering your hands. It does not have any bactericidal effect. We need to use hand rub between procedures for same patient. We need to change gloves between patients, and the top apron needs to be changed between patients. That is very important. Similarly, prevention of spill and splash has to be. So how we are preventing? At the most, we are using closed suctions for all ventilated patients, and any suction bottles or any vomiters that needs to be, they have been discarded in something called as a sluice, which is drained out. They are not been, discarded into other human using toilets or something like that. So those are all some of the other things. So other than this, In the wards, what is mainly? It is mainly monitoring, medication, respiratory, exercises. These are all is the main things in the wards. So timely medication administration, especially the nebulizations, consumables, disposables cannot be shared between patients. So that we keep individually monitoring for early warning signs, monitoring for complications and deterioration, preparedness to resuscitate and intubate. Anytime we will need to do that. Then family education. Imagine a patient alone lying in a room, family is not allowed inside, correct? And they don't know how is the patient. There is only telephonic or in video call that is being done by a doctor and similarly by the patient. It is a panic situation. It is an apprehensiveness on either side, patient as well as the family. A lot of time, two of them also get admitted. The whole family gets admitted, like a couple or parents, whatever. And then the panic increases. They feel even if something happens to me, my children are not here, like this. So it is not just the education, it is also about, giving a lot of psychological well-being to them. About preventing the infection, we need to segregate the cases. Already Dr. Hiran had discussed. So we have suspected cases, separate bay, positive cases, separate bay, and depending upon which isolation practices are recommended, that needs to be followed. Minimizing the exposure by performing maximum task at one entry. So if a nurse needs to go into a positive patient's room, we need to take all the requirements for that patient, complete the task at once, and come out in a shift. We recommend not to go more than 2 times to any of the patient's room. Though we are all wearing a PPE, it will still help us to reduce the exposure to that. That's how we are handling it. Surface disinfection at frequent intervals. Again, hand hygiene, appropriate PPE, management of waste we discussed already. Correct. So this was one of the very important message, which even Dr. Hiran said that I'll be covering. So there is something called as a donning and doffing of PPE. What is PPE? Personal protective equipments. So the donning sequences either the gown or the PPE. PPE means the suit, the jumpsuit, then the mask, then goggles and face shield, then finally the gloves. We started using shoe covers also, especially in positive areas. So that will be the next one after the gown, that will be there. Yeah. So what is donning is putting it on. Doffing is removing it. Donning, though it is not taken care, it is different, but the sequence has to be maintained. In doffing, the most important is the technique to remove your personal protective equipments. Where do you touch? Which corner of the glove do you touch and pull it out? We should not touch the front of the mask. Similarly, we should not touch the front portion of the gown or the jumpsuit or the plastic apron. That is what is very, very important. So doffing is done under a supervision and hand rub is used between every doffing sequence. After a complete doffing, the hands are washed thoroughly, then they go out. So the doffing sequences, we wear double surface gloves. So first gloves will be removed, then hand rub, then face shield goes into a solution, then goggles go into a solution. After that, the plastic apron is removed, jumpsuit or the surgeon gown, whichever is being used, that's been going into the dustbin. Then the mask. Even if it is N95 mask, when we come out of the positive area, we discard it. Okay. And then using the hand rub between each PPE item is very, very important to follow. So some prevention strategies for general public. So factual awareness, creating a factual awareness. We all been reading about COVID-19, coronavirus. We all been learning about it repeatedly. Yes, now that we cannot gather on a social basis, we cannot sit together in a class. All of us have turned into web learning. But what happens, most of the fake numbers or the fake informations have been creating panicky, because yes, fire is not faster, but WhatsApp messages are faster. In a second, the messages will spread faster than anything in the world. So please do not go by the fake messages. Read through the approved sites, approved websites, WHO, CDC, ICMR. They all give us the appropriate numbers, appropriate protocols. It is direct and easy for any of us to access. Do not need to be panic about listening to something which is not right, whether in our area, in our city, in our country, whatever. We are already in a red zone, red alert, but we can do better. So social distancing obviously is important. Self-reporting in case of contact or symptoms. If I am sick, I should not be worried about a social stigma and hide it. I need to be reporting it. Self-declaration is much quicker. We will be able to identify and segregate, quarantine that person earlier before he spreads. Even if it is a common flu, we don't know if it will turn into a COVID. Then avoid touching the T-zone, mouth, nose, and face. Self-quarantine isolation if it is advised. So most of the mild cases and the asymptomatic carriers are advised home isolation now. Healthcare workers, we have already handled. The last 2 points is dead body management. A lot of videos and unnecessary fake panicky is being created. There's nothing to be panicky about. The routine package of a body is being done, and at the end we cover with a waterproof sealed Ziploc pouch. The body is being pouched in that. Then the BBMP takes for the disposal. Okay, so that is there is nothing much to be panicky about. Some of them are not handling it right, but that's not the actual situation. Self-care on return to home after duty is most important for each healthcare worker. So here in our hospital, we have the facility to shower and go. So all of us are using scrub suits. At the end of the shift, we shower, we change, and then we get back home with our fresh clothes. That facility has been given. Those who are working with the PPE for more than 6 hours, they have a break at the end of 6 hours. They have a shower, change over, have their lunch, and then go back. Similarly, for the dinner at 12:30 to 1:30 in the night, they take break one after the other, finish and go back. So it is more important not to carry. That is why in case of infected areas, we do not carry our mobiles. We do not use our own pens and get them back. We use the items which are stored inside that area. PPE which is used also is not stored in the positive area. It has been stored outside the positive area, and shift basis we take what is required. So now here afterwards, I don't have much of writings. It's just some pictures. So few takeaway lessons that we have learned that we want to share it with you. So there is a lot of discussion or debating and doubt whether people can wear mask during exercising. Exercising does not mean only a physical exercising. Like we may be a little more, overworking or doing things. We may need to walk a little faster and things. Nothing wrong in removing a mask and taking a deep breath in between. That's why I just put this picture here. So people should not wear masks when exercising, as masks may reduce the ability to breathe comfortably. So this was what was thing. But main important is why that was the thing. But what is the factors? The sweat can make the mask wet more quickly, which makes it difficult to breathe. And then the wetness in the mask promotes the growth of microorganisms. That is why the exercising with the mask is risky. But if we use a semi-permeable mask, appropriately layered, appropriate mask recommended, we will not have that issue. Okay. So I hope I'm not very fast, but at the same time, I'm covering up important. We are already at 4. So most of them are asking, can shoes spread the virus? It is, if in case whether COVID or not COVID, shoes is considered as not a right item to take it inside the house. Okay. So I would like to just leave it with that like a general thought. And then prolonged use of medical masks can make us feel uncomfortable. It is not like that. Initially, when we started using N95, all of us are like, oh, my glasses are fogging, I can't see, my hood is fogged, it's wet, it's full moist, I cannot see, I cannot breathe. We ourselves were feeling like that. You believe it or not, now we are wearing an N95, then we are wearing a surgical mask, then we have a hood which is covering us fully, then we have a face shield. And all of us are able to breathe throughout our duty. There is absolutely no issue. So only till we get accustomed to it, it is an issue. Okay, so then this is also is just similarly. So whether do we, most people like who get COVID recover from it. We are most of the time the deaths have been highlighted, the red alert, red zones have been highlighted, but the positiveness is we have a lot of discharges and we have a lot of recovery numbers. 62% is the recovery. Yes, we need to maintain social distancing, not just outside, not just at the work, everywhere and anywhere. Even in the lift, even in change room, hostel, wherever, we need to decongest the areas and ensure social distancing. So next is, this I put it up to ensure that to consider everybody as positive. We are not testing all of us are not tested. The other patient relatives are not tested. So we need to consider everybody as positive. We need to consider items, common items that are used as positive. We cannot think, okay, he is negative reason. The RT-PCR test which have been conducted are only 65% sensitive. So the rest is unknown. That's how nothing is still foolproof. But on that, repeat tests is what we get to know and then we go ahead. Obviously, like any other disease, prevention is better than cure. So this was some of the things that I wanted to say. Do not contact infections. Do not be in the contact list of infected persons. But we all healthcare workers have no other go. All of us are on duty. We are all going into the areas. We are all still fine and healthy and able to take care of them. Most of us must have seen the second picture in WhatsApp as a forward message. It's just not a joke. If we follow seriously, we will be able to prevent a lot of transmission of this disease. And Dr. Hiranappa told we can do video consultation. So we can have online prescription and online consultation from consultants by avoiding to come into your hospital area. Please be healthy, be safe. Okay. So these are all some of the points that we had. And these are the reference links that I will share my slides to Lindsay or Dr. Gajendra Principal. So you all can take it and use it.
Okay, ma'am, I will share with everyone. I will share with everyone.
Yes. Any questions? Open. The forum is open for any questions.
If anyone is having any doubt, you can ask directly to ma'am or you can put it in the chat box. Then I can share it to ma'am.
I hope it was in language and understandable.
Yes, ma'am, sure. I think no one is having any doubt because your presentation was so in detail and it was informative section also. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Now I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Hiranappa and Mrs. Neelaveni ma'am for the wonderful section and for finding some time from your busy schedule. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Avi College.
Next, thanks to our principal, Dr. Gajendra Singh, for providing an opportunity to conduct this useful webinar session. Thanks to our vice principal, Professor Mamta Nishal, for all the support and guidance. Thank you to all the faculty of Abbey College of Nursing for your cooperation to make this webinar a success. Last but not least, thank you everyone for joining this webinar and spending your valuable time with us. Have a very nice rest of the day. Thank you, all of you.